Sometimes you have to be okay with putting up the boundary, even though you might lose the girl, even though you might lose the guy. It's okay, because you put your boundary in place. But guess what happens when you put the boundary in place? What's up, guys? This is your boy Jalen here on another episode of Elevated Minds, and today's episode is going to be called The Difference Between Control and a Boundary. Now, relationships are all going to have boundaries. It's all going to be natural. Now, the thing is, some people misconstrue the difference between somebody that's controlling and someone that has a boundary. Especially nowadays, anytime someone has a boundary, people think, oh, they just don't want me to do this, this, and this. And that's just not the case. It's just not true. So without further ado, let's go and hop into this episode so we can kind of talk about how a relationship can be healthy with boundaries, but not with control, because control is not something that you should be trying to do. You should not be trying to control anyone. So before we even begin, I have to go ahead and give you guys the actual definition of control. So the definition of control is the power to influence or direct people's behavior or course of events. So that's what control is. You're trying to influence someone to do something that you want. An example of control would be you're in a relationship with a guy or a girl or whatever, and they say, you can't have friends. It's like, what? I can't have friends? What? Yeah, you can't go do this. Nope, you can't do it because I said so. That's control. Now, here's what boundary is. I got to give you the definition of a boundary. So boundary, a line that marks the limits of an area, a dividing line, a parameter. Now, that's the normal definition of boundary, but I have to also give the definition for a personal boundary. So a boundary within the bounds of a person and a relationship. A personal boundary is a guideline of rules or limits that a person creates to identify reasonable, safe, and permissible ways for other people to behave towards them and how they will respond if someone passes those limits. So as you can see, a boundary is like a parameter. Every relationship has a parameter. Everything in the world has a parameter. Everything has a boundary. In school, you can't be talking while the teacher is talking. If you go to court, you can't overtalk the judge. You can't talk to the judge without being asked to talk. You feel me? These are boundaries, and this is what creates order. This is what creates like a safe space within these situations. So that's what a boundary is. Boundaries are actually there to help protect whatever the entity is, whether it be a relationship or an area, whatever that might be. So when we get to personal boundaries, as you can see, it means, say you're in a relationship with a guy or a girl and they want to go out with their friends. And you say, now you're not going to say, no, you can't go out with your friends. No, that's control. So there's a difference. So a boundary is going to be, hey, you can go out with your friends. Absolutely. Have fun. Just don't do anything that you wouldn't want me to do. You know what I'm saying? If you wouldn't want me to grind on no girls, you know what I'm saying? You don't want me to, have somebody backing it up on me, then you don't need to be backing it up on no dudes. You feel me? Dance with your girls, have fun, drink, do what you want to do, but don't do that. That's the difference between a boundary and control. Now, a lot of people will think that a boundary is controlling. And just like I mentioned before, a boundary is meant to protect. So in this situation, you know what I'm saying? It's different between saying, hey, you can't have friends, you can't go out, you can't do this. That's controlling. Because okay, so what? I just, this whole relationship, I can't do anything just because you're insecure. That's different. And you need to look out for those types of signals, because if someone tells you that you just can't do anything just because of their own insecurity or because of what happened to them in their past with a past relationship or whatever it might be, that's not sustainable. I'm telling you right now, it's not sustainable. You're going to be that whole relationship is going to fall apart eventually. So you need to just like look at these different things. There's differences between control and a boundary. I'm going to give you an example of a healthy boundary. A while ago, there's this girl. We had matched a long time ago. Nothing ever happened, but then we got reacquainted again. And during this time, she wanted me to come and like pick her up and take her places. And everyone knows, a lot of people know I do Lyft as well. So for whatever reason, a lot of people like to say, oh, let me hire you as like a personal driver. Like whenever I need you, I'll just throw you some money. And that was one of the things she wanted to do. Like she just wanted to throw money at me like, hey, here's a 20. Can you come pick me up at this time? And, there are some times I was like, yeah, I'm free. I can come do that. But then there are some times where there's some things that's non-negotiable for me. Me working on my podcast and editing my videos and recording and doing all this stuff. This stuff is non-negotiable. This is stuff I have to do. And the time that I need to do that, nothing can interfere with that. Going to the gym, non-negotiable. So this particular day, she called me and she actually said, hey, can you come and pick me up at 4:30 p.m. downtown San Diego? The worst time for me to leave and go somewhere. I was already doing something. I was already busy. She wanted me to come out there, and it was going to be totally inconvenient for me. I was working on my podcast, I was doing some stuff, and she didn't ask her ahead of time. It was just 3:30. Oh, can you pick me up in an hour? I'm like, no, I can't make it. Sorry. You might have to just get an Uber. And so she was kind of upset about that. But then I want to say it was the day after, she hit me up again. She called, hey, can you pick me up today? I have a bunch of stuff from this convention. I'm carrying a bunch of stuff. Do you think you can come and get me? And I was like, the time that it was going on 12, and I was meeting my boy at the gym. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to the gym right now, but I can pick you up when I'm done. And then she said, when is that? I said 1:30. So that's the time I can come and get you. She's like, well, I'm getting out of this thing at 12:30. I was like, that's not going to work for me. She's like, well, what about 1? I was like, that's not going to work for me. I'm going to the gym. I don't want to have to rush and, half-ass my workout just because you randomly dropped this bomb on me to come pick you up. I'm not going to do it. I can come pick you up at 1:30, and this is the best I can do. And so I didn't hear from her, and then I'm at the gym, and then at 12:38, I had looked down at my phone. I had 5 missed calls, all these missed texts, and she was just at 12:38, she said, are you on the way? I'm outside waiting. And I texted her, I was like, no, I said I'm going to be there at 1:30. And she just oh, what? Never mind, forget it. And honestly, we never talked after that. I never hit her up. She was upset at me, but that was my boundary. And she was trying to push my boundaries. And guys, especially for guys, women, you need to have your boundaries too, but guys definitely have to have your boundaries, because a lot of times I feel like when women are attractive or women think that they have something over you, they think that they can get you to bend to their will and do this and do that whenever they want. And guys do it to women too. Absolutely. But the whole thing is, I didn't bend my boundaries. I kept them in place, and she tried to keep pushing the envelope back, and I didn't budge. But she left. We ended up not talking over that. Sometimes you have to be okay with putting up the boundary, even though you might lose the girl, even though you might lose the guy. It's okay, because you put your boundary in place. But guess what happens when you put the boundary in place and then you back off from it? Oh, you know what? Yeah, I can come pick you up. Yeah, I guess I can come pick you up right now. I can skip the gym. I can skip my podcast. I don't have to work on that. I do that one time, then she doesn't ask me to do it again, and then again, and then again. And then every single time she asks me to do something, she's gonna expect me to do that. And that's what happens with a lot of people nowadays. Every time you say you're gonna put a boundary up, or you don't really have the strength to do it, you're going to get upset with yourself. You're not going to trust yourself, because you said to yourself that you're going to put this boundary up, and then you fold it. You know what I'm saying? You fold it. So if you really think about it, boundaries are protection for the relationship, and it's a protection for you. So you don't want to push other people's boundaries. You know what I'm saying? If they have a boundary up, and as long as it's reasonable and your boundaries are reasonable, you guys should be respecting each other's boundaries. That's literally how a relationship works. You respect each other's boundaries. And no relationship should be about control. No relationship, you should not be trying to control a man, ladies, and men, you should not be trying to control a woman. Point blank, period. You're not supposed to control people in relationships. You should allow people to be who they are, and you set healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries is what's going to keep both of y'all safe and the relationship safe. Just like I talked about in the courtroom, in a classroom. If you go to college, you're not going to be acting a fool in the college room, are you? No, because they're going to kick you out. And so just like this, where it talked about with the personal boundaries, you have to state what you're going to do if they cross the boundary. So if you say, hey, I don't want you to be twerking on no dudes. Hey, I don't want you to be texting any girls that I don't know that aren't really your friend, that want you for more. I don't want you to text those women. And if you do that, I'm going to leave you. The moment that you catch them doing that, they break the boundary, and then you're like, oh, well, I'll let it slide. Don't do it again. Just don't do it again. No consequences. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to do it again and again and again because you aren't even backing up what your word is. So this is the difference between control and a boundary. And boundaries are very powerful. They're set in place for protection. Control is just something that people do out of ego. They just want things to be in their clutches. If it's not in their clutches, then they feel unsafe. It's a trauma response, honestly. And a lot of times it's just ego because ego is that's just kind of the way it is. But when you're trying to literally control somebody and control a relationship, it's not going to end well. That's all I wanted to say to you guys today. I hope that I provided y'all some value. If you haven't already, follow me, subscribe. Stuff's going to be down below in the description box. Let's keep going through the rest of this year, guys. We got lots of stuff we got to do, and we got plenty of time to do it. So let's get to it. Love you guys to life. Thank y'all for watching. Stay elevated.